Hi everyone, it's me, Slim Hope, and today I wanted to start my Star Wars movie review series. I can't believe I've postponed it this long, but here I go. Um, I'm gonna do this in episode order. I know some people like to review them in um release movie order, but to just for me to keep up with it easier, I'm just gonna go with episode order, not movie release order. But I'm going to review Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And it's basically the beginning of the Star Wars Skywalker story, where we're introduced to a 9-year-old Anakin and his mother. And he has no father, but they were slaves to a alien thing. I forgot what his name is, but I remember it's something like hard for me to pronounce, like his name is hard for me to pronounce. But Liam Neeson's character Qui-Gon Jinn and Ian McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi go to visit his planet Tatooine, and he gets freed, but his mom doesn't. But it's so that they can train him to be a Jedi. And then chaos happens. Qui-Gon Jinn goes against a villain called Darth Maul. He dies. Well, they both die because Maul kills Qui-Gon, and then Obi-Wan kills Maul, or at least so you think, because there's a show called The Clone Wars, and it reveals that Darth Maul lived, but from 1999's perspective, he died. But Anakin also has a crush on Padme, who is 14 years old. Um, I would consider this my least favorite Star Wars movie as a whole. Not just my least favorite prequel, but my least favorite Star Wars movie because it's really boring. Um, my second least favorite is The Rise of Skywalker, but at least that movie's more enjoyable. I'm not bored when I watch it. Um, I used to hate it at first, but then I wrote my regular trilogy and then gave it a second chance, and I still enjoy it. Although it is still not my favorite Star Wars movie, I have since warmed up to it and I enjoy it. But my least favorite Star Wars movie is The Phantom Menace, and it's essentially boring. Um, well, at least until the very end when Maul fights Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. That bit of the movie, like from that start to the end of the movie, is where I actually enjoy the film. Um, but um, it still drags on a little bit in the movie. Like the ending drags on a little bit for me, but the first half and second half of the film is very boring, and um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one good thing about the beginning and the middle. Um, But now that I think about it, I enjoy the pod racing scene where Anakin essentially races and then gets freed. But the rest of the movie's boring, and um, I wish they would have started the prequels with Anakin being a teenager and Padme being a teenager, and maybe they have a year or two difference. Like one of them's 15, 16, and you know the others around that age, because it's obvious that they're supposed to get together, and to introduce Anakin as a 9-year-old and then Padme being 14, and to know that they're supposed to get together near the end makes it kind of weird. At least for me, at least I understand that little kid crushes um happen, but I don't know, it was just really weird because he kept flirting with her, and I kind of figured out when I first watched this movie 4 years ago that they were going to be a thing in the later movies, and that made it weird. Another thing, I'm trying to really think about positives because I want to give this movie positives, but this movie is just boring. It only has the pod racing scene and the final battle between Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, and then the rest of the movie ending. Those are the only parts of the movie that I thoroughly enjoyed, and the rest of it's just boring. And I wish that it would have just started out with Anakin being a teenager, and maybe he's already a Jedi. And none of this whole petty thing with the council not wanting to train Anakin because they sense darkness in him, they sense fear, that kind of thing. And then Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan saying, we're going to train him anyway. I wish they would have just made the first prequel movie about Anakin already being a teenager and him being a Jedi. I'm sure, with that, I know it's hard because Anakin's supposed to be a metaphor for Jesus from the Bible, and they wanted, George Lucas wanted him to be born from the Force, not have a father, like Jesus was born from God. But I'm sure they could have easily explained it still. Like, they could have had a scene between Anakin and Padme after they meet and say, hey, how'd you become a Jedi? And Anakin could easily say, well, and to still, tie in the 9-year-old Anakin, well, I was found by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they freed me out of slavery, but they couldn't free my mom, and, I don't have a dad, and I'm force sensitive, and they trained me since then. And even still, at least Padme and Anakin could still be in a closer age range. You know what I mean? She could have easily still been a kid back then. Like she could have been 10 or 11 or 9. You know what I mean? But they didn't do that. That's how I would have started it. And then and then by the end of the first movie, at least for me, if it was my movie, they would have gotten married. It would be the romantic movie, and then the second movie, they're in the early stages of marriage, and they already have a baby. It could have been Luke could have been the firstborn, and then Anakin and Padme could be trying to keep their marriage a secret, and Anakin trying to juggle Jedi and marriage life, and Padme could be pregnant, and with Leia, and then maybe by the third movie, their marriage is estranged, slowly getting estranged because he's being pulled towards the dark side. He's getting I'm sorry, I can't talk. I'm getting over being sick, but their marriage could start to crumble because he's getting pulled in the dark side, like in the Revenge of the Sith, and or maybe the firstborn could have been Leia, because in the last original movie, in Return of the Jedi, she says she remembers her mom. So maybe scratch Luke being the oldest, maybe Leia could be the oldest. That way, that line would make more sense, and Padme could be pregnant with Luke instead, and the third movie would just be about them trying to be parents, but after she gives birth to Luke, Vader's already turned. She dies of sadness, like in the Revenge of the Sith, and at least when you rewatch Return of the Jedi, and Leia tells Luke, "I remember our mom before she died." At least it would make sense, because with the prequels, it kind of negated what she said, because they were both twins and they both were born in the last prequel movie. It makes Leia look like a liar, I would think, or crazy, and it makes no sense. So that's why I would have made the prequels, but that's just me. But if I had to rate this movie out of 10, I would give it 2 out of 10, because of two things I like about the movie, because of the pod racing, and because, at least in the final battle leading up to the end of the movie, it was good. And those were the only parts I enjoyed. And that's really me being nice. But I enjoy those two things, so it's gonna get a 2 out of 10 for me. Alright, thank you. Bye.